City of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded June 4, 2024.
Not going to make a decision today, but for July's meeting, it's going to be July 2nd would be the first Tuesday, and obviously that's July 4th. Some people might be out on vacation, and my thoughts are if people are available the 9th, that would be a time we could get together, or if that doesn't work for anybody, possibly that the 11th. So if we can think about it and get in touch with Candy, that would be fantastic. All right. Number 3, approval of minutes.
Mr. President, I move for acceptance of the minutes as submitted.
All right.
Second by Mrozek.
All right, we got a first and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Number 4, confirmation of bills. Do you, Mr. Secretary, you want to start with those?
I can handle that for you, Mr. President, yes. The bills as is, there is nothing to point out other than for the sake of our new member to remember that when you look at the summation sheet, it's a month behind, so you always need to add the current bills to that to bring it up to date. But there is one important factor I want to bring to everybody's attention. If you look at near the bottom, say, of the police bills submitted, you'll see 2 charges for WPS. Well, we did some checking, and they pulled the same thing with the fire department and the ambulance service as well. And as it turns out, it's WPS that made the error. They submitted double bills in May. So apparently we're going to have one whale of a credit coming in June. So we'll be monitoring that to make sure that we aren't billed as much again. Other than that, the bills, there's nothing outstanding, nothing unusual. And with that, I would submit that we approve the bills as submitted.
All right, we have a motion.
I second it.
Second by Zenner. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Number 5, discussion with possible action to approve a conditional offer of employment to Ryan Floweret and Jarrett Lucht. Chief?
Yes, looking for the Commission's approval to give conditional offers to both Jarrett and to Ryan. A little background on Jarrett. Jarrett grew up in Amherst. Played high school football and baseball. Graduated from Amherst High School. He then enrolled in the Mid-State Technical College. He graduated with an associate's degree in criminal justice this May. While attending college, Jarrett completed his internship with the Wood County Sheriff's Department, and in January of this year, he was hired as a reserve for Wood County as well. And he's also a member of the Stevens Point Auxiliary Police Department, police unit, where he volunteers for the cookouts, the fundraisers, traffic control, and event security. While being involved in school and volunteering as a reserve deputy, his duties, he also works 30 hours a week at Menards, and he has since 2022. The character and professional references had nothing but positive things to say about Jarrett. He's eager to learn, he's hardworking, he's motivated, he's dedicated, punctual, prepared, and someone who gets along with everyone. So I'm asking for the Police and Fire Commission's approval to hire Jarrett as a patrol officer without recruit schooling, and upon successful completion of both the psychological and medical screening. His expected start date would be August 8th. He'd be sworn in, and then August 9th he would begin the 720 Law Enforcement Academy at Mid-State Technical College. And I can go right into Ryan as well. 2 definitely different generational individuals. Ryan Floweret grew up in Stevens Point. He graduated from SPASH. He enlisted in the Marines. He was stationed in South Africa as an embassy guard for security. After he was discharged in 2011, honorably, he remained in South Africa and worked as for a security company. In 2012, he moved back to the United States and worked for Canadian National Indiana Paper. And then in 2018, he was hired on at the Marathon County Sheriff's Department in the Communications Center as a dispatcher. Since working for the Marathon County Sheriff's Office, he's obtained many educational courses to better himself in both career in law enforcement and as a dispatcher. He attended the FBI Basic Crisis Negotiating Training. He is a peer support basic training, crisis intervention training, crisis system management advanced, crisis negotiations, and negotiating with special populations, and crisis incident stress management. He also currently sits on the board of directors for the Wisconsin Crisis Negotiators Association. In 2020, Ryan was awarded the Marathon County Sheriff's Office Public Safety Telecommunicator Award, and in 2021, he received the 2021 Wausau Public Safety Communicator of the Year Award. He recently graduated from Midstate, and his references add positive remarks and perspectives of Ryan's demeanor, abilities, and his dedication. They described Ryan as a great person, helpful, positive, great communicator, goal-driven, enthusiastic, and we're also asking for the Police and Fire Commission's approval to hire Ryan as a patrol officer, again, without recruit school, and both on the successful completion of both the psychological and the medical screening. And he also would be sworn in on August 8th, and he would start the 720 Academy on August 9th at Midstate.
What's the seniority rank?
Ryan Florette, and then Jarrett
And that's Lute?
Lucht. Yep.
Luck. Okay. I can do a motion to approve the hiring of Ryan Florette and Jarrett Lucht as officers with the Stevens Point Police Department, effective date August 8th, pending successful completion of psychological and medical screenings.
I believe historically we've done them individually for the seniority. Or is,
That's why I did them in the order I did.
Yeah,
so
I
okay,
think
well, then
that's
that's
up.
fine.
But I think you need to amend it to stating that hiring without recruit school. So we're extending that offer with recruit school to be on August 9th, because typically
We're not, that's not part of the hiring. We're hiring them before they go to recruit school, so
Okay.
it's just, am I correct that that's the two that are left?
Correct.
Okay. I can separate them if you want.
if it doesn't matter to the chief for seniority purposes, then it's fine.
It does not.
Okay, then that's fine. We have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, any
Chief,
discussion,
may I-
questions?
Excuse me, is there discussion?
Yep, go ahead.
Chief, one question for you. Does that mean their probation starts on August 8th?
No, their probation actually starts upon the completion of the 720 Law Enforcement Academy.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Number 6, the police chief's report.
It's not going to be very long today, but I will introduce Officer Mallory Gaylord. She's actually in the back there if she wants to stand. She was sworn in today. She will be attending her 720 Law Enforcement Academy beginning tomorrow. So she is our first officer that, with the new contract that we are sending through the Recruit Academy. And so again, welcome to the Stevens Point PD and the city. Real quickly, again, Lieutenant Johnson is participating in a lot of job fairs, going to the Boys and Girls Club, trying to do the recruitment into law enforcement. He also took 72 cadets from 6 elementary schools here in Stevens Point to the Dells as a reward for their excellent work throughout the school year as cadets. Officer Lucas Hughes, he completed his step 3 of field training and will be in the 2-week shadow period. And on the 21st, which I'm assuming Chief Moody might go over as well, we had that severe weather that came into the city. And on the 21st, the City Emergency Operations Center, put on by Chief Malin, activated over at Transit as a training opportunity to make sure that it was up and running and that we were able to get it going. So it actually was very, very helpful because we ended up using it then later in the evening for some of the incidents. On the 28th of May, Officer Garrick Gentvek, he was sworn in as our 285th officer here at the Stevens Point Police Department. And the only other thing I'm going to talk about is on the 22nd. Our narcotics detectives have been working very hard on a case. and it ended up being very successful. They ended up doing a search warrant in the 2800 block of Water Street and the 500 block of Forest Street. And in that search warrant, they were able to obtain 1.36 pounds of meth. They also obtained marijuana, paraphernalia, mushrooms as well. And they organized it, but it was done with the Stevens Point and Plover SWAT team, and with the Central Wisconsin Drug Task Force, and with the help of Stevens Point building inspections, and with the Stevens Point Fire Department. And so it was a very, very successful warrant on the 22nd. That is all I've
That's
got.
it?
Yep.
All right. Questions?
Chief, one question for you. Who authorizes the city's emergency operations center to be activated?
So Justin Malin, Chief Malin, is actually our emergency manager here. And he's been doing an incredible job getting us all prepared. And this was a really great opportunity to actually get this up and going. A lot of the directors or us in our new positions have never actually started the EOC or activated the EOC. So this was an opportunity to do so. And we ended up going there at noon to activate it, to see if we could get it going, to see what we needed, make sure the phones work, make sure our computers work, our radios work. And because of the weather becoming so severe, we actually just kept all of our directors and chiefs and stuff remained in there and remained there until 9 p.m. to take care of the city.
Well, that's what I had assumed, but I just wanted it officially known. I was thinking the right way. I wanted to know who was in charge to call it. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Have a motion?
Motion to accept the police chief's report as submitted.
Second by Marozak.
We have a motion and a second. Questions, comments? None. All in favor of,
Hang on one second. I totally forgot one thing. I'm sorry. It's sitting right here, too. I'm sorry, Kim. So obviously, myself and Chief Moody have been really working hard for crisis intervention for our employees to make sure that physically they're well, but also mentally. Officer Kim DeRoser is actually on our peer support team, and she is currently on modified duty, and she took it upon herself to get together with the peer support team, and I put it in front of you all. She was able to create a card that's handed out to all of our officers, and then a letter, because we wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about the officers' spouses, significant others, or their families, to let them know what programs are available for them as well, because it's not just us that are being affected, it's also the family members and their spouses. And sometimes they see the effects taking place on the officers well before we do. And so this pamphlet's handed out with that letter to the family members, and so they're able to look at it, and it gives them resources to reach out for help. And it can be anonymous, where we won't find out that they're reaching out for help. And so I just want to thank Kim for going above and beyond to create this for the families of the officers as well.
very good.
So this was your idea to do the little card like this?
Well, at our last peer support meeting, we talked about how there hasn't been a lot of use of peer support from it. We kind of talked about how we wanted to make it more common for people to recognize that we are here if anyone needs help, and that sometimes people kind of forget that they have this support if they need it. So one of the things that we had mentioned was making sure that they had access to our phone numbers easily, and business cards came up, and then we wanted to make sure that families were incorporated because they're the first people that are going to see any changes. And sometimes they don't know who to reach out to or where to go if they feel that maybe the spouse needs assistance, or maybe their officer that is their spouse needs help too, and they need kind of ideas to bounce off of. So that's where the pamphlet idea kind of came up. And then we had already had the letter, we just had to revamp it a little bit so that the new hires, because we are hiring a lot of new people, so that we can hand it out to their families when their families are here, so,
I think that's a fabulous idea. I like that.
thanks.
That's it. Sorry.
That's it? That's all right. I didn't know if this was for commissioners' eyes only or not, but
I got something to bring up, too. We have a pretty big festival coming up, right? Or I guess the 4th of July stuff down the road. Do we have updated safety precautions and stuff? You know, I was visiting or driving through several towns in my travels, and I see that some use snowplows to block streets and stuff like that. So I don't know if this is a time to just kind of talk about.
Yep.
We have I think a relatively bigger band coming, which might bring in a few more people. And
I've actually got it under the EM report.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
unless you want to take it now.
No, but yes, we do actually meet. Previously, we set up a tactical plan, and we do use heavy equipment and everything else, but he can talk about that.
Oh, okay, great.
all right. All in favor of the police chief's report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Number 7, fire report, EMS report,
And emergency management report.
and the emergency management. I was kind of just balling it all together.
Thank you. So the first thing I'd like to point out is we have recently just had our first training burn in our new burn facility down at the Stevens Point Training Center off of Water. And we took our instructors down there to have a train-the-trainer course. They had many things that they took away from being able to recreate live fire and be able to take our newer members in to a building like that. And I look forward to many more safe burns in the future coming up. We've realized how to be able to create flashover, how to be able to hit it hard from the threshold of doors and knock the fire out. It's actual live fire in our facilities. We're able to do this training right here in the city without having to get a house to burn down, and we control the environment. So it's a new facility at our training center. It's a great partnership we've had moving that facility forward with Mid-State Technical College and DCI, Department of Criminal Investigation, and it's just continuing to expand. So that was a good training event that we just recently had. When it comes to training, as you can see, if you've been keeping up with the monthly trainings within the fire department, you can see that we continue to just keep adding trainings, or there seems to be more and more training that's happening. And that's due to the Fire Bureau itself being created a few years ago and taking a lot of the inspections off the line and having aggressive crew officers. When it comes to the battalion chiefs and the lieutenants that are on each crew, they're really hitting home the need for the training and creating that muscle memory, so when it occurs, they can just react. They don't have to think about it. You know, when they talk about training, if you train more than 100 hours a year, you become an expert in that situation. And if you train just 100 hours a year, you will become 95% better than the rest of the average population in anything you train on. So that's really important to point out, that we're really trying to create that muscle memory when it comes to training itself. Also, as you can see in the reports, numbers as far as call volume continue to still be above average. Right now, 27.82% above average. Reason being is we did add the first part of June, and as you can see, we put June 1st in there. We had and it was a negative 50%, because as of that time, June of last year, we had 4 calls, and this year we had only had 2. So the data's a little bit skewed, but I'm really interested in seeing what the 6-month data will show us at the end of a half of year. Keeping up with the needs for the department, we have been very involved with the truck build under capital for the upcoming year of 2028, 2029. I just want to give the truck committee a lot of credit for that. And looking to the future, that the capital improvement projects have already been approved by the bodies, but in order to actually possess this piece of equipment, in 28, 29, we're having to build it now and sign on the dotted line for this approval. So it'll be going forward under Finance and Common Council this month in order to keep up with the needs of the department and what we've approved for capital improvements throughout the next 5-year plan. The next thing I'd like to talk about is a little bit more personal, a little bit more to home. I'd like to inform the PFC that I'll be having a medical procedure completed over the next month prior to the next PFC meeting. I continue to be advised by my physicians of my limitations as the chief of the department and following his said advice. I have met with my command staff at the Stevens Point Fire Department. I've informed them. I've also delegated out additional roles and responsibilities in my upcoming absence. I'm also, if I'm unable to make decisions as the chief of the department, we do have policies and procedures in place. And those decisions will be made by Assistant Chief Zavara. He will be completing such duties in my absence following the department's policies and procedures. I plan to keep the situation fluid as well as informing the PFC as I progress forward. The policies and procedures within the department underneath our organizational structure lay everything that I talked about out and defines everything. And then it also defines in our job descriptions under the Assistant Chief of Emergency Medical Services, which is Chief Gemza. He is the incumbent and is the designee in the absence of the chief. And due to there being to be transparent with the department and having a son on the department in my absence, it'll go again under the organizational structures and the policies and procedures we have in place already to Dennis Zavara to act in my absence. Also, underneath the EMS report, this was a big win for the Stevens Point Fire Department. We held an EMS workshop and a station tour with PJ Jacobs students. The students learned hands-only CPR, bleeding control, and ambulance operations. I'd like to point out that we sparked an interest with some of those people. And we have been working really hard, and Chief Kuso will tell you the same thing. We're always short. And where we're looking for those future candidates for our departments have changed. It's no longer with our juniors and seniors in high school or even our sophomores. We're looking at 8th graders and 9th graders and trying to give them some direction and support and spark interest into our career fields. We did just that with this program. We've already had people reach out and want to join our Explorer program and are already asking their teachers how and what that career path looks like and what classes they have to take at SPASH to get into the EMS and fire world. So it was a great thing. To piggyback off of that, our department went and participated in the Boys and Girls Career Fair Day. Again, very important that we're, again, out there in the public's eye supporting our professions as law enforcement and fire and EMS. One thing I'd like to take away, I'd like you to take away from the monthly EMS reports. You can see the year-to-date call volume for the difference between Medic 1 and Medic 2, our primary ambulances out of Station 1 and Station 2. And I'd like to thank the people in the department who have had the foresight to think about change and actually make those changes. When it comes to the call volume between Station 1 and Station 2, there was obviously a extreme difference. Medic 1 was going on many more calls per year than Station 2. We were able to look at the ESN numbers, or basically the geographical areas within the county where Medic 1 and where Medic 2 respond to, and without changing the response times, re-divvied up those districts to try to equal out the call volume between the two stations and those two medic units, and it's proving that it's coming true. They followed the data, they made the changes, and there has been a great response from our members within the department to show that they're equaling out the call volume no matter which station they're running out of. So it's been a big success. And that's truly just because of the people we have in the department analyzing the data, willing to make the changes and move the department forward. On the EM report, emergency management report, we'll actually go right back to this. I'd like to start out with, we are working, or the emergency management coordinator is working on an incident action plan for Riverfront Rendezvous. He's met with the parks director for that whole week. He's met with the police department. They've been working with DPW. They are working on looking at how the parade's going to operate, how all the events will take place throughout the next few throughout the weekend, and having plans in place and using the NIMS and ICS systems to be able to communicate with our people appropriately, making sure that we have people in each position, making sure we all know what radio frequencies we're going to be on and what channels, making sure everybody has their roles and responsibilities detailed, what times they need to be at their posts. All that stuff is being communicated right now, and we're working again together between the police department, DPW, Department of Public Works, and the Parks Department and the City Fire Department to make sure that it's a safe and fluid event through the holiday weekend. Also, would like to point out that the EM manager met with the department heads at a department head meeting and staff meeting to go over the Portage County mitigation plan and involving the city of Stevens Point in that, and making sure we have our stuff up to date if something were to happen or a target hazard were to occur within the city, and what that would all look like. And then lastly, again, we did have a training exercise initially for the severe weather on May 21st. I don't want to get too deep involved in it because it is going to be brought up next month. Our emergency management coordinator, Deputy Fire Marshal Malin, asked if he could come in front of the PFC again and give a briefing on what we took away from the training exercise and the events that occurred that evening in moving the emergency management position forward here within the city. So again, it was a great tool for our department heads. It was a great training event that rolled right into the real world event that was involving the city and many other local areas here in central Wisconsin. With that, I believe that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Chief. Does anybody have any questions?
I had one.
Chief, I got a couple of quick ones for you. You said you balanced out the responses from 1 and 2. Has the dispatch center been brought into this thinking too? Because I mean, they call for who's going out.
Yes, they had to be involved from the very beginning because they're the ones actually dispatching us out. So the Comtechs are aware of the changes, and we had to follow policies and procedures to get that put into place, and it's been working really well.
Good. My other question was, you said a truck for 28, 29. Not all of us know what a truck is. What type of equipment is this?
Sure. So basically in the fire service, there are 3 different pieces of heavy equipment. There are engines, trucks, and squads. An engine would be everyday fire engine. People see us pulling hoses off of it. It has a pump on it and usually has a tank with anywhere between 500 and 1,000 gallons of water on it to make that initial attack on a fire before we hook up to a fire hydrant. A truck is one of those, they get a little bit longer and they just put the big aerial ladder on top of it. So the truck would be the ladder on top. They usually have a smaller water tank, less capacity for potentially hoses and pumps, but are able to get our members safely onto roofs or elevated areas. And then lastly, our squads. They look like an overgrown ambulance, and that usually we use for technical rescue to house all of our ropes, our confined space, our trench, and our collapse rescue equipment on it, and that would roll to those types of scenes.
Yeah, thank you for that. And the other thing that ties in with that, the length of the ladder on that truck, is that still like 6 or 7 floors or something like that? I know at one time there was a city policy of how tall we could have a building in point.
Yes, as of right now, the truck 22 that is currently in service has a 107-foot straight stick, and the new truck 33, will have the exact same ladder on top of it. So it'll be 107 feet, and it can reach the 6th floor if needed.
Because we got rid of one of the tallest buildings we had in Boyd. It's going a lot shorter. But I know that was an important factor back then. In fact, the length of the truck was determined by a couple of buildings.
And with fire technology and with the changes over the years in the fire service, it's not as big of a deal anymore, because there's other ways to fight high-rise fires, and we learn from our mistakes in the fire service, and that's one thing we take away, and the things that go good, the things that go bad, and with that, we're able to fight those fires above the 6th floor now as well.
Will some truck be put on standby at that time? Will we be moving one out, or this is not an additional unit, it's a replacement unit?
No, it'll be a replacement unit in 2020. Well, we're hoping to see it in the end of 2028. If not, we're not going to see it till 2029.
But it will be, and the old one will then be...
At that time, be taken to a reserve status.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Denise, go ahead.
As a fire department liaison, I just want to, for the record, point out that nothing out of the norm or special treatment is happening with the chief's leave. The city Human Resources Department oversees a leave and makes sure protected rights of an employee are adhered to. While it is not specified in a job description, the city does allow light duty to be performed at home while under a protected leave. The city, not the PFC, dictates this. Sandy in Human Resources also confirmed that no work is allowed for employees under a total temporary disability, but under a total partial disability, light work following all restrictions is allowed and allowed from home.
Thank you. Tom?
I just wanted to, and I'm aware, obviously, with the police department, the auxiliary program and how successful that's been. You did bring up the Explorers.
Yes.
And reaching out to some of our younger individuals in the community. I don't want to put you on the spot on a number, but what are we looking at, what numbers right now in the Explorer program? And have you noticed, or could you share with the commission the success that those individuals that have been on the Explorer program, have they been hired by our fire department or other agencies and within the state?
Sure. So first of all, don't quote me on the actual age, but I believe it's 14 to 21. They can be on the Explorer or in the Explorer program. What we try to do is we try to be able to bring them in at a younger age, mentor them through the course of their career in the Explorer program, and then allow them still to graduate, go on to potentially a fire or EMS program, and allowing them to stay in our program as an Explorer, hopefully to bring them back to the Stevens Point Fire Department. Right now, currently, I believe our membership is right around a dozen members, within the organization. And then that also dictates, when we do these Explorer events, how many department members as adults we have to have at those events as well, or if we take them to competitions or to trainings outside of the city, what type of adults and training these members have to go to in order to be Explorer advisors. So that also plays into that. And then lastly, we have seen a great success with our Explorer program. I will tell you that we personally within our organization have hired several of our own Explorers now as firefighter paramedics on the Stevens Point Fire Department, or if we were unable to grab them at that time when they were ready to seek employment, they've gone to other places within the local area or even branched out to larger departments. But a good majority of the Explorers that we put through that program end up in a fire and EMS profession somewhere. So great success with the program.
Good to hear.
Any other questions? I have a motion?
Motion to approve the chief's report.
Second.
All right, a motion to, I'm assuming the chief's report, EMS report, and the EM
Yes,
report?
thank you.
All right. Motion is second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor to accept, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. And that brings us to our last agenda item is adjournment. Thank you.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.